I am going to tell you three things that you need to know in order to start and continue your healing journey. This is coming straight off the press from the Diary of Discovery podcast. And for anyone who doesn't know, I am the host of the Diary of Discovery podcast. We are coming up to 20 live episodes at the end of September, but we have got the episodes recorded all the way to the end of the year. And I wanted to share my lessons that I've learned from speaking to so many people about their healing journeys. And I'm going to pull out the three biggest things that you have to accept in order to go on this healing journey and do it in the best possible way, in the fastest possible way, and get the most out of it. So let's jump in. So, first things first is when you go on a healing journey, you have to accept that life is going to be different. Okay. You're processing when you first start your healing journey, you are processing from a place of survival. You are processing from a place of holding on for dear life. And when you stop processing from this place and you become healed, which, is a journey, but it's a state, what you desire and what you need is very different. Who you are is very different. So you have to accept that the life that you want is going to be different. The things that you desire are going to be different. The hobbies that you like to do, potentially even the people you like to spend time with. With some of the podcast episodes, we've heard our guests say things like, them going on their healing journey. Some people loved it, some people hated it. Some people hated that they became more self-aware because all it started to do was hold up a mirror to the other person who didn't want to do their own healing about what is possible. And that is something that I think is really, really critical for you to remember, is that as you heal, you will change. And as you change, life around you will change. The people who are wanting to be in your experience, the people who are wanting to spend time with you, the types of activities that you're wanting to do, everything will start to shift. Now, this isn't a bad thing, this isn't a scary thing, this isn't, anything to be afraid of. It just is. And you have to accept that as you go on a healing journey. You can't cling on to who you are now and also heal. You can't cling on to your beliefs now and also heal. Because as you heal, you start to love yourself more deeply. That is a standard practice of healing. You start to be more compassionate to yourself and others. You start to be kinder to yourself and others. And as you go through this process, you also start to build better boundaries and better standards for yourself, which means things that you thought were acceptable before will no longer be acceptable. And that means that life will change, whether that is your relationships or your work or your hobbies. It doesn't really matter what area it is in. There will be change. Life will be different. And that is incredible. Like, there is not a single person that I've spoken to on the podcast in all of the live episodes and all of the episodes that have been recorded so far that hasn't had a big shift, either in the work that they're doing or the purpose that they lead, or, they've stopped working and they've started a business to help people within the area that they've healed from. It's so normal for people to go through this process. And I think a lot of people are really scared of healing because they feel like, oh my gosh, so much is going to change. And actually, what I want to say to you is that is incredible. Like, good. Things should change. Things should change unless you are absolutely in explicit joy and absolutely love everything about your life. And there's not a single thing that doesn't align with you or make you feel joyful, then things should change. That's just how it is. So that is our first lesson, accepting that life gets to be different, and that is a good thing. So, before we jump into our second lesson, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel. We have got 60% of people who watch this channel who are not subscribed, and many of you don't make it all the way to the last couple of minutes of the video where I ask you these things. So, I'm going to put it in right here, right now, and say please subscribe, because it honestly helps way more than you'll ever know. And it really encourages that the content is right, that you're getting value from it. So, subscribe. If you want to, like the video and drop a comment below as to what you're enjoying most about the channel. Okay, lesson number 2. So the next thing that you have to accept is that to heal, you have to feel your feelings. To heal, you have to feel your feelings. And this is something that so many people try and avoid. Okay, so many people try and avoid this because feelings are messy, feelings are big, feelings are hard. And when you've been in a state of avoidance, a state of dealing, of survival, of closing yourself off, of, not wanting to feel anything, and then you start to feel again, it can be so difficult. And people on the podcast have explained this as like a dam wall breaking, as like a freight train. There's so many incredible ways of people describing this moment of like just feeling all of your feelings and having everything kind of pile on. And this counts for positive feelings and negative emotions as well. I don't necessarily like calling them positive or negative because I think all emotions are good, but some emotions can feel better than others. Some emotions can feel more exciting and more positive than others. And I want you to know that you have to be able to feel the whole spectrum. So I don't know if you know, but we can't shut off one emotion and not another. So we can't say, oh, I'm only going to feel joy and happiness and like incredible things, and I'm not going to feel any sadness, and I'm just going to, avoid that. You can't do that. The only way that you cannot feel is to turn off your ability to feel anything. And that creates massive detachment from the actual reality of the world that is around you. That creates massive detachment from how you show up and how you present and represent yourself in the world. So there's a real importance for you to say, okay, I'm going to feel the good, but I'm also going to feel the bad. I'm going to feel the things that feel scary. I'm going to feel the things that feel overwhelming. I'm going to feel the things that, make me want to cry or scream or feel frustrated or overwhelmed. Like I'm going to feel all of those feelings and know that in my healing journey, I can create a safe space to feel those things. So you might want to use breathing techniques. You might want to use meditation. You might want to use journaling. You might want to have a person that you process with. So whether this is a paid like psychiatrist or whether this is a friend or a loved one, it doesn't really matter. But you have to find a safe space and a safe method for feeling your feelings, for getting everything out of your body, and whether that is talking through them or writing them down, whatever feels good for you. I know when I first started, actually physically saying things out loud felt really, really scary. So I started by just writing, by just journaling and just journaling how I felt and what was going on and what all thoughts were that were going on in my head and, how I felt about my life and different elements of it and what I loved and what I didn't. And I started to kind of lean into this idea of actually feeling. And as you go through this process, it's really important to understand that you have to be able to release emotions. You have to be able to let an emotion happen and feel it through to completion in order for it not to become trapped energy in your nervous system. In order for it not to cause a problem future down the line, is by actually sitting down and saying, okay, how am I going to feel this feeling? So, for instance, with me, I might, have loads of nervous energy and I might be, really nervous or really excited, like really feel kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do with myself. And then I'll say to myself, okay, how do I do something with this energy? So, maybe I can go on a run, maybe I can play with the dogs, maybe I can have a dance party in the kitchen, like I can get the energy out and let it complete through me, let it like move through me. Sometimes I will be really frustrated, really overwhelmed. Everything just feels like it's too much. There's this thing coming at me from every side. And then I think, like, how do I release all of this energy that's like this overwhelm inside me? And maybe I just need to like sit down and just have a massive cry, or maybe I need to scream into a pillow and, like let it out. And whatever it is that you want to do, whatever that process is for you, it doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that you have one. Okay, so this could be like, oh my gosh, everything feels so overwhelming. I'm just going to get on the phone with a girlfriend and have a chat and let them show me that actually it's not that overwhelming and I can sort it out. They always say like a problem shared is a problem halved. Like when you actually say something out loud and you get it out of your head, it feels so much more doable and so much more reasonable. The same with like making a list if you're feeling really overwhelmed. Like there's so many ways that you can do this. But I want you to understand that you have to feel your feelings. You can't avoid feeling your feelings. You can't avoid staying away from that process of moving through your feelings. And if you've got feelings that are pent up and stored and stuck from previous, even more so you need to move through that. So one of the big things that I do is I do somatic therapy. So therapy where I'm actually moving the energy in my body and I'm working with a psychiatrist and I tap in, I feel, what is going on in my body, where does it feel like there is pain or movement or, anything, any kind of stored sensation. And then we work to actually move that out of my system. And this is like a great way of actually taking charge and giving yourself a safe space where you can feel your feelings, a safe space where you can move through those emotions and really just like hold yourself safely. That's the really key thing. Hold yourself safely so that you feel safe enough to feel your emotions. That is the key. Okay, and then final lesson number 3. You have to accept that healing is an active process. If you have listened to the podcast, you will absolutely know that we talk about this all the time. Healing is an active process. You can't sit back and go, time heals everything, because it doesn't. You can't sit back and go, I'll just wait until I feel better and then I'll deal with this, because that time is not going to come. You have to actively take a role in your own healing journey. Everyone that I've spoken to has gotten to a crossroads. They've gotten to a point where they've gone, this can no longer go on. I can no longer lie to myself and lie to everybody else. I can no longer pretend like everything's okay. And sometimes that is forced upon our guests, and sometimes it is this building internally that just then cracks out and is like, absolutely not, we can't do this anymore. But every single time I've spoken to our guests, we've always spoken about this idea that there's an active role in healing. There's an active process where you have to follow the steps. And this could be changing your routine. This could be improving your sleep and exercising more and, eating healthy and listening to uplifting content, or decluttering your house can also be like an active process of healing. It could be completing a bunch of projects, getting new hobbies, going to therapy, like journaling, meditating. Like there's so many things that you could do. There's so many things that you could do. And I'm not going to tell you how to heal. Like you can go and heal however you want to heal. We've had people who have danced. We have people who have played sports. We have people who have like gone through and learned new skills and upskilled in different areas that they thought would help them like go on this journey. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter what the steps are, like the practical steps that you take. All that matters is that you are moving and that you are doing something to make yourself feel better. And again, like that could be going and seeing a doctor. That could be going and seeing a psychiatrist. That could be doing your bloods and checking that everything is healthy, checking that your hormones are good, checking that there's no other underlying factors that could be, contributing to your emotions at the moment. It could be working with your cycle and figuring out like when and how your cycle affects you. It could be working with your sleep patterns and looking at different times of the month and times of the year and different seasons that we're in, I always know that winter impacts me so much more than summer, and less so now that I'm living back in South Africa. But in the UK, I struggled so much with seasonal affective disorder. And even now, we're just coming out of winter into summer again. Somebody feels like they've turned on summer, which is incredible. But up until this point, I've had to really be conscious of, how do I make sure I'm getting vitamin D? How do I make sure I'm getting vitamin D, like B? How do I make sure that I'm supporting my system in the best possible way so that I can still feel really good when I don't have as much sun, as much daylight, as much warmth, which are all really important things to me. So this idea of active healing is getting to know yourself really well, getting to know your own patterns, your own cycles, the things that contribute to you feeling good versus the things that contribute to you feeling bad, and doing more of the things that make you feel good. Like, I always think about when I first started my healing journey. I was back in the UK. I was massively depressed, suffering with so much grief, and the last thing that I wanted to do was get up and go run. It was the last thing that I wanted to do. But I knew that that was one of the things that really helped me. So I would put on my earphones, I would listen to like a motivational talk or really uplifting like BT music, and I would go out and I would run. And I didn't love it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't love it. It was always hard. It was like, in the summer, it was way too hot. In the winter, it was way too cold. Like, I never felt like I got it right. I was never as fast as I wanted to be. I never got as far as I wanted to go. Like, there were so many things that were quote unquote wrong in that process. But I knew that if I ran, it would kick in my happy hormones. It would flood my body with endorphins. And after a few minutes of running, or like 10 minutes of running, I would get this kick that would make me feel so good. And I could ride that for a couple of hours in the day. And in that time, I could be super productive, which would then kick in more happy hormones. And then when I was super productive, I could then celebrate myself, which would kick in more happy hormones. And we just had this upcycle that I was just creating, where I was pushing myself further and further up every single day through the habits that I created, through the like routines that I created. And I want you to think about, how do you do the same? How do you actively heal and push yourself through discipline, not motivation? Because when you're not in that good place, it's really hard to find the motivation to do things. So you've got to ask yourself, can I be disciplined enough to do this? Can I be disciplined enough to take this consistent action? Can I be disciplined enough to literally take these small steps that will make me feel better and make it possible for me to take the big steps, make it possible for me to do the big things? And that is what is so vital as you go on this process. So I want you to remember these three things. As you're healing, accept that life will be different. It will look different, it will feel different, and that is okay. I want you to accept that you have to feel your feelings, the good, the bad, the ugly. You have to feel them, you have to let them process through you all the way to completion. And finally, I want you to remember that healing is an active process, an active process. You have to actively choose that you want to heal and actively join that journey to say, I am going to take responsibility for this process and I am going to make the absolute best of it. So I want you to remember that healing is your choice. You can choose to heal. You can choose to take steps in the right direction. And even though it can feel very overwhelming, I promise you it is absolutely worth it. And if you want some more support as you go on this journey, listen to the podcast. Every single week, we have the most incredible, incredible guests on the podcast sharing their healing stories. We have people from all walks of life. We have people from different countries. We have people who have had different situations happen to them, people who have cut out alcohol, people who have been made redundant, people who have one of our episodes that has come out recently is Vena's one about dying 3 times. Like, The stories are so inspirational. They are so inspirational. And I want you to know that they are available to you. They are free. You can listen to them whenever you need a moment of pick me up to hear these incredible stories of people doing incredible things. We are already filmed all the way until the end of the year for the podcast. We're starting to take on 2025 guests already, and we're not going to stop. It's going to be around forever. We're just going to keep sharing these stories and keep showing you what is possible in the world. And I will keep bringing you more and more insights in this way, along with the meditations and along with the business content on this channel. So I would love for you to tell me in the comments below which lesson you are most excited to give a go at. Like, are you going to create that different vision for your life? Are you going to sit down and feel your feelings? Or are you going to take a more active stance in your discipline to actually going on this healing journey? And of course, I would love for you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tune in next week for our next installment. I can't wait. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys soon.